Well, they were clapping at the beginning of the day, but it wasn't that way at the end. It was another down day on Wall Street today. The Dow now at a 2-month low. And much of the last few sessions, the S&P and NASDAQ had their worst days in 2 months. Now, you combine that with just a quick glance at the headlines, like the stuff we've been talking about, including the crisis in both Syria and Egypt and the spike in oil prices that they've led to, and you realize just how fragile our economic recovery still is. Now, if that's not enough uncertainty for you, the markets, the Washington's calendar, well, that is providing a lot more. And Andrew, we're going to be looking here at, if it's not the end of a hot summer here, what'll be a hot session coming forward. Expect a lot of fighting and hopefully not a lot of inaction.
You're looking at about 6 or 7 weeks to be concerned about, Rich. Congress has been on recess since the beginning of August. They don't come back until the Monday after Labor Day. That is September 9th. Just 3 weeks later, on September 30th, the federal budget expires, and without a new deal, the government will be forced into shutdown. That leaves, by the way, just 11 working days in the House to get any deals done. A little more than 2 weeks after that deadline comes the latest deadline on the debt limit. Around October 15th, Treasury Secretary Jack Lew estimates the U.S. will begin defaulting on its debt, again, without a deal. Rich?
Now, Andrew, to that point here, as we approach the debt limit deadline, it's a real one here. Both sides appear to be raising the stakes, and they're not giving it on their position. Secretary Lew, he wrote to Speaker Boehner here that even just allowing the U.S. to approach the debt limit would, quote, cause irreparable harm to the economy. And he went on to say that the White House, this time, they're not bargaining. Now, Boehner, for his part, he promises Republicans in Idaho recently a brawl. Those are his words when it comes to the debt limit, saying he expects a whale of a fight demanding at least dollar-for-dollar spending cuts before he will vote to even raise the limit. Now, are we going to play chicken again on this issue? It worked so well the last time, Jeannie. Please tell me you think that this time will be different, that we learned our lesson.
I just, listening to this, it's so sad. It's I feel like we've been doing this every 6 months, every year. It is deja vu all over again. And I have to say, as much as I wish I could say that I was hopeful, I am not at all hopeful. And the real trouble here is that 2013, this fall, these 11 days, this limited period of time is probably the last time we have a possibility of getting something done in terms of a deal, because as soon as you cross over that November deadline, everything is about the midterm and then the 2016, and nobody is going to be compromising. So I think this is a very bad scenario for Washington, and I think the rhetoric that we're hearing right now, you hope it doesn't reflect the reality. You hope people are behind the scenes talking, but you don't get that sense. And if they're not, it's not going to be enough time to get a deal done, and nobody seems willing to step up to the plate.
You get the sense, Dom, that they already figured this out, that the guys in the safe seats on the right say, I got nothing to lose. You know what? If I do anything here to be hinting at trying to find the deal, I look at what happened to some of my guys here. I look at what happened to McConnell, for crying out loud here. I'm going to get primaried. Forget that. I'm going to double down here. I want to defund everything. I want to go defund Obamacare. We're going to talk about that one. I mean, talk about a waste of time. So I can't believe we're doing this again, but I think it's going to be the same thing, isn't it?
Well, Richard, you said double down. A little correction. Not just double down, take all the chips and put them in, because that's what's going to happen. Some of the folks on the right, as you just said, if they nudge a little bit, you're looking at a primary, you're looking at going back to your district without a job. They're not going to budge. And so I want to make sure I got this right. In the last segment, we're calling on the government to do something about Syria. And then the next segment, they won't even vote to raise the debt limit so that the country can pay our bills. So,
but just explain this to me, Bryce. And I'm sorry I'm putting you.
Explain it to me as well.
Bryce, right? But Brandon, it hasn't worked for him. I believe if I was an impartial consultant, I'd say to Republicans, guys, look at who's up here in the Senate, right? You got a great chance to take back the Senate. You can hold your margin in the House easy. Just don't do anything crazy. Don't waste time and be obstructions. You guys, it's about winning. It's not about, who can scream the loudest. You want to win, and you want to win the White House in 2016.
Exactly.
What's the best way to do this? Let's put down the tinfoil hats here, and let's just raise the debt limit like we did under Reagan, like we did under Bush, like we did every time. Let's not hand the Democrats yet another victory here when we can avoid it. I just don't see any sense anyone can talk sense.
Well, you know, I think the problem is there's no sense, unfortunately, in Washington. I think what you have is you've got two things. One, you've got the fact that people want to come back to their jobs, and they're scared that if they even move a second on raising the debt limit, that they'll lose their jobs. But I also think Speaker Boehner has a major responsibility, and he's got a responsibility to explain, listen, this is not necessarily in just increasing the debt limit. This is paying our bills from last year. And I think that message, if that gets out, then it says, well, wait a minute, we have to pay our bills, we have to worry about our credit, but we have to pay our bills. And I think if we don't do that, then I think then you'll have, you'll have certain individuals being primaried. You'll have us. You know, I don't think that Secretary Lew was actually insisting or offering. He was telling us, listen, you have to get something done in 11 days.
And to be fair, Greenspan before him,
Exactly.
Bernanke now, two guys that don't have a political dog in the fight say this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But Andrew, my point is, take the parties out of it. Is there a way that the public can get the remember Schoolhouse Rock, but they can get the Schoolhouse Rock message that he just hit, which was, guys, this isn't about politics. We ran up a bill. You got to pay your bill.
Right.
Just like you got to pay your mortgage every month, you got to pay your electric bill. We got to pay the bill. We already spent the money. You don't have a choice here. What happened last time? Our credit rating went down. We got hurt as an economy. People lost jobs. Can that get articulated?
And I think that's the Schoolhouse Rock's message. It's the credit card. And, I think a lot of people know what it's like to miss a payment or to not have the money to make the payments on the credit card. So if you can't make the payment, that's what's going to happen. Everything gets more expensive and it hurts the economy. But I don't think there's any way to avoid it. Even just the threat is painful, but I don't think there's any way to avoid it because it's the only leverage Republicans have. I mean, if pushing us over the cliff is the only thing that they can do to try to get their point across and actually get what they want done.
I don't think so. I think people want adults. I think that's the appeal. They want plain-spoken, mature. And whether you like or don't like a Christie, I think people have missed the point about why this guy's popular. They think he's authentic. I think they believe there's an authenticity.
He's page one news today. Be careful.
He might be, but even if he picks a fight with Republicans on putting his arm around the president, he gets a pass because at the end of the day, people believe that he's doing what he believes is right. They don't have to agree with it. I just think people have craved so much of authenticity, Boehner doesn't realize the power he actually has. And I think until he uses it, he's going to regret it.
Boehner doesn't realize necessarily the power of being honest and just telling it like it is. And say, listen, we have to pay a bill and this is how we do it.
No, this is all about a weak Republican Party that's divided. You hit on it. You cannot tell them to forget about the party. They are up for themselves, as you mentioned. And until and unless the Republican Party is strengthened enough that Boehner can control it, nothing is going to happen. And that's what it's about.
I think that's where leadership comes in. And I think that's Boehner's biggest issue is he going to be a speaker or is he going to concede to the Tea Party?
Absolutely,
and
he wants
his
to
job.
keep
I'm sorry.
his job.
If I'm him at some point, what's the point of having the job if he can't do it? But all right, we leave politics for a moment to the side here, and we talk about it, a huge anniversary that's coming up tomorrow, the actual anniversary. The 50th year since the March on Washington. The day is tomorrow. We look back at Dr. King's legacy. We ask how far we've come and how far we still have to go. It's up next. Stay ahead.